We're here with Kathryn Gessner. We wanted to catch up with you at the summit, but now we get a chance to at the Independent Show. You were on a panel yesterday. You had a lot of insight. One of them is, as a company that's been around for 60 plus years,
yeah,
you guys
55.
are still 55 years. You guys are still expanding. And why don't you talk a moment about some of the areas you're expanding to, because they're not adjacent communities.
Right. Yeah, what we found out, if you look at a map of Ohio, it's Charter, and then there's kind of a little dot that's Massillon. So really when we were looking at it and saying, how can we expand, we couldn't expand from our existing plant because it's really tough to be an overbuilder and to compete in that way. So sort of by sheer luck, we found a system that was for sale. It was posted in a classified ad on like a cable, they were looking for a construction truck, and they found this little ad that said, hey, we've got systems for sale. So we found those. They're rural. They're about 35 miles from us. Really helped us to cut our teeth on that because we haven't done a lot of acquisitions in the past. So sort of learned the ropes. Our guys had a great time with it. Like, they had fun building it. They're sort of the new cable cowboys. Sort of showed us that we could do it. So now we're looking at what other abandoned systems are out there, what systems are in rough shape that we can maybe go in and help these communities have broadband, because a lot of communities still don't have broadband, especially in southern Ohio. It's little small communities, it's a couple dozen homes along a state route, so they don't have service, and that's what we're trying to find. We're trying to find those, and we can fill that void for those customers.
And you were saying you could actually follow the old cable line even back to the head end, right?
Yeah, we found a couple that, you look on the line and you can just follow it back, and the head end, what used to be the head end, is in a horse pasture. So we're, then it's fun to try to figure out who owned it or what it was. So,
any idea of why they abandoned it? Was it just too costly to?
Yeah, I think cost is always a big factor, as is people leaving. People move out of communities like this, and at some point it doesn't make economic sense for these cable companies to continue, so they stop. A lot of it, too, is innovation that they can't necessarily keep pace. It gets harder and harder for them, so they just at some point say, we're done, we can't do it anymore.
Now you're building fiber to the home, I assume, in these new areas?
Yes, yeah. All the construction we do now is fiber to the home. We know that's where the industry's headed. That's where consumer demand is headed, to have fiber. So it doesn't make sense to build something with coax that we know in several years we're going to rebuild.
Does that make it a little easier for you to have people then in Massillon and then serve places that are a long ways away?
Yeah, it makes maintenance so much easier because there aren't all the electronics, there aren't all the nodes and the amplifiers and everything else in the system. So really, once it's built, save for a fiber being cut or something like that, they don't require a lot of maintenance.
And so from a partnership perspective, too, that was the other thing I found interesting. It sounds like you're partnering with the telco.
Yeah, we're working with Horizon Telecom on some of these that they've got cell towers in a lot of rural areas in Ohio, so we're working with them on getting bandwidth to our head end in Massillon, and then we can connect the customers to the outside world. If we didn't have that relationship, I don't think we would be able to do this at all, because it would be too cost prohibitive for us to either put up our own fiber or find another way to get there.
And so speaking of fiber, as you're installing fiber in these new areas, is that presenting new opportunities for you that maybe you didn't imagine in the first place? Whether it be business or cellular?
I would say we're sticking pretty true to our core of offering internet and cable TV services. I think down the road it'll open up more opportunities as the Internet of Things becomes more prevalent and businesses change. I think there's more opportunity. But we're pretty focused on residential customers, business customers, that sort of thing.
And speaking of business changes, the last time we spoke, I think you were just coming in as the president and CEO of MCTV. How has that transition been?
It's been good. My dad retired in mid-April, so it's been a couple months. He's staying out, so that's helpful that he's not really sticking his nose in, but it's been a pretty seamless transition. We have a really great team. So I sort of joke that I would have to work really hard to run the business into the ground. So it's trying to figure out what my strategy is going to be, where we're going to go, and what we're going to do.
Excellent. Well, as the years go on, we'll see that strategy unveiled. And Kathryn, I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much.